Chapter 1756. I think from what I know, one possibility is that your dream is controlling your actions. This is what we call sleepwalking. You see something in your dream and it's the same thing in reality, so your dream is controlling what you do in reality. Lenny said. From a medical point of view, there are many precedents for this. The second possibility is that your unconscious actions in reality caused you to have a dream caused by your actions. However, this possibility is relatively small because you were unconscious at the time, so how could there be a dream? What's going on? If I really did consume that black phoenix, then could it be the dark phoenix in the dream? Mengyao couldn't imagine what she'd done yesterday. Wait a sec, let me think. Linny said, but he wanted to ask Jiao Yazi if he had any similar knowledge. After all, Jiao Yazi knew more than him. Jiao Lao, do you know what's going on? Linny told Jiao Yazi about the situation. I have an impression. But I don't. Jiao Yazi frowned. From what I remember, there's something like this, but this part of the memory hasn't been unlocked yet. I really can't think of it. But according to my understanding, this is called the inheritance of memory. Inheritance of memory? Linny paused. Inheritance again. He'd been hearing a lot about inheritance lately. That's right. Jiao Yazi said. From what I know, a person's memory is actually a set of brainwaves, and after a person dies, these brainwaves will exist in the natural world in a free form, but under certain circumstances, they'll resonate with the brainwaves of a living person and absorb them. You're saying that Mengyao received a set of brainwaves? Linny asked. You could explain it this way. For example, under certain circumstances, if two people were to do the same thing by chance and the same brainwave was nearby, then it could be absorbed. Elder Jiao nodded and explained, or if the brainwave frequencies of the two people were similar, for example if they were relatives, then their brainwaves could resonate and absorb the brainwave. Actually, this is what people often say about the dead coming to us in their dreams. Of course, this is my shallow opinion. I don't know if it's correct or not. I'm just making conclusions based on my current memories. It's a little suspicious, but it does make sense. Linny nodded. That means that a long time ago someone ate a dark phoenix, the black phoenix, and Mengyao ate the dark phoenix as well. That's why she had this dream. So you're saying that when Mengyao ate the dark phoenix, the brainwaves were absorbed by Mengyao? Is this 99 dark 9999 dark 99? You could say that. Jiao Yazi said. Of course, you could also say that this brainwave was left behind by Mengyao's ancestor. Didn't Mengyao say it herself? The person in the dream is somewhat similar to her, so the possibility is higher. She fell asleep and right next to her was the dark phoenix that her ancestor had swallowed back then. Thus, that group of brainwaves coincidentally resonated with her brainwaves, controlling her to do certain things and even appearing in her dream. No way. Mengyao's ancestor was a practitioner? And the head of some sect? Linny said, shocked. I don't know about that, I'm just analyzing it for you. I don't know the specifics. Jiao Yazi shook his head. I'm just telling you the most likely scenario. In other words, it doesn't matter which one of these two possibilities is the inheritance of memories, and Mengyao has that dark phoenix bloodline in her as well? Linny asked. I don't know. Jiao Yazi said straightforwardly. Maybe she does, maybe she doesn't, maybe it's just a memory inheritance. Alright? Linny smiled bitterly. At the very least, Mengyao's body didn't have any abnormalities. Linny didn't really believe that she had activated some kind of inherited bloodline, but what happened yesterday was indeed unbelievable. Linny said to Mengyao after leaving the jade space. It shouldn't be a big problem, don't worry about it. It's just a dream, it doesn't mean anything. You've eaten a spirit beast, it might have strengthened your body, but there shouldn't be any side effects. As for the memory inheritance, Linny didn't explain. Saying too much would only increase Mengyao's mental burden. I see. Mengyao heard that Linny was fine, so it should be fine. After all, Linny was a very skilled doctor. Linny was the one who cured her a few times when she was sick. And if there's nothing else, let's go. Linny had a bad feeling in his heart. The jade seemed to be urging Linny to leave as soon as possible, as if something was about to happen. Linny didn't want to stay any longer. Naturally, no one objected to Linny's suggestion. The four of them packed up and had breakfast in the hotel before leaving. At the same time, the Dark Palace's Dark Shadow Group had started searching from the Dark Spirit Mountain. As the trump card of the Dark Palace's eyes and ears, the Dark Shadow Group was absolutely professional, so they searched very carefully with the Dark Palace as the center. They radiated outwards. But after searching the entire Dark Night Spirit Mountain, they didn't find anything strange. The person in charge of the Dark Shadow Group immediately notified Elder Li, and Elder Li brought the news to the Grand Elder immediately. Other than Mingyao's problem, Elder Li and the Grand Elder didn't have much of a disagreement, but usually the two were on the same page when it came to major issues in the palace. Reporting to the Grand Elder, the Dark Shadow Group didn't find anything out of place. Elder Li said, "Nothing out of place?" The Grand Elder frowned, a little confused. Chapter 1757. That's impossible. I would have found out long ago if there was someone with the blood in the Dark Phoenix Palace. I wouldn't have waited until now. The Grand Elder shook his head. Moreover, in Wanmer's line of descent, she is the only one left. Could it be Yao Yao? Elder Li's expression changed slightly. Yao Yao? You're talking about Meng Yao? The Grand Elder humphed. Do you think that's possible? A bastard with an impure bloodline can awaken the bloodline and accept the inheritance? I know you want to bring her back to the Dark Palace, but there's no need to do something so illogical right now. You're an old member of the Dark Palace, how could you not know if it's her or not? Elder Li felt a little awkward. I'm just saying, maybe a new Dark Phoenix has been born? The Grand Elder guessed. If that's the case, then if we catch the Dark Phoenix and let Wanmer eat it, wouldn't the Dark Palace return to its former glory? Elder Li's eyes flashed as he asked. Yes, but I'm just guessing. The Great Elder said, let the Dark Shadow Group continue to search, and then send someone to the nearby town to inquire about it. See if anyone has seen any abnormalities? Yes. Elder Li replied and immediately sent people to continue to gather more information. The Dark Shadow Group's efficiency was very fast, and it didn't take long for them to report back. This news shook the entire Dark Knight Palace. In the meeting room of the Dark Palace, everyone had a serious expression on their faces. That hunter Wang Laolu said he caught a Dark Phoenix? The Grand Elder didn't know if he was too excited or something, but his breathing was rapid. We're not sure if it's a Dark Phoenix or not, but he said it's the legendary Dark Phoenix. The leader of the Dark Shadow Group said, according to the other townsfolk, some say it's a wild black chicken, some say it's not. It's hard to say what it is. The elders on the stage nodded. They had never even seen the legendary Dark Phoenix before. There were only a few descriptions of it in the Dark Palace's journal. No one knew what it looked like exactly. Do you have a photo? The Great Elder asked. No, the town's residents don't use camera phones and it's hard for anyone to bring a camera at night, so there are no photos left. The person in charge of the Dark Shadow Group said, in the eyes of these people, it's just a wild black chicken. There's no need to take photos. Then where is this Black Phoenix now? This was what the Grand Elder was most concerned about. According to Old Six Wang, he sold the Black Phoenix to these 4 foreign tourists for 10,000 yuan. There were 1 man and 3 women. When they asked him about his appearance, he couldn't give a clear answer. At that time, everyone's attention was on the 10,000 yuan. Very few people noticed the 4 people's appearance. And because it was evening, the light was not clear. Old Six Wang said that the 3 girls were very beautiful, and he was too embarrassed to stare at them. The person in charge of the Dark Shadow Group said, later when I asked about the whereabouts of these 4 people, someone saw them and said that they were heading towards the farmland in the direction of the town. I think they left the town. The Great Elder listened to the report of the person in charge of the Dark Shadow Group. His face was a little uncertain. If Old Six Wang really killed a Black Phoenix and it was eaten by others, the Dark Palace would suffer a great loss. They would even want to cry. But if it wasn't, how could the strange phenomenon yesterday be explained? Continue to investigate. Check the hotel records of the town and see if there's any news. The Great Elder said, send another group of people to follow the direction they left the town. Yes. The person in charge of the Dark Shadow Group received the order and continued to investigate. As for the Great Elder and the others, they didn't leave. They had been waiting in the meeting hall for news. This was a serious matter and no one had the mood to leave early. The investigation of the Dark Shadow Group quickly spread to the Dark Palace again. The 4 people stayed in the only small express hotel in the area. The registered name of the tenant was Ling One. But with the information channels of the Dark Shadow Group, they couldn't find out the specific identity of this person. They suspected that it was a fake name. Lin Yi's identity as Ling One was fake in the first place, and it was normal that the Dark Palace couldn't find out. But that wasn't what disappointed them. Last night Ling Wan had rented an induction cooker from the hotel. He must have cooked the Black Phoenix himself. If the four of them ate the Black Phoenix together, then the purity of the bloodline wouldn't be as pure as Wan Heir's. It was pointless to find it now. And so, when the Great Elder heard the news, he was extremely disappointed. It seems that the wild game they bought was the legendary Black Phoenix. Maybe there was some strange phenomenon when they ate it, but after the four of them ate it, the Black Phoenix wouldn't be able to inherit its bloodline. There's no point in continuing to look for it. Everyone was silent, and the most disappointed was Wan Heir. If another inheritor appeared, or if she ate the Black Phoenix, then she wouldn't have to suffer here every day. Once she accepted the bloodline awakening and inheritance, she would become the only master of the Dark Palace. At that time, the Great Elder wouldn't interfere with her other things anymore, and she could go meet Pingzhan and Meng Yao. Keep looking. Maybe there's more than one Dark Phoenix. Ask Wang Laolu where he found the Dark Phoenix. We'll send someone to keep watch. Elder Li said to the person in charge of the Dark Shadow group. Yes. Everyone knew that the chances were slim, but it was good to have a sliver of hope. At this time, Lin Yi had already brought Tang Yun, Meng Yao, and Yushu to the West Star Village. Lin Yi had a bad feeling in his heart, and so he didn't rest on the way back. Lin Yi drove the car like crazy, letting Meng Yao, Yushu, and Tang Yun rest in the car. The three didn't know the reason, and they thought that Lin Yi wanted to go home, so they didn't say anything. In fact, even if they did, Lin Yi wouldn't know how to answer. After another day and night, the destination was right in front of them. There was no highway nearby, so the last part of the journey was unusually slow. Otherwise, with Lin Yi's speed, they would have reached the village a long time ago. Is this the place? The scenery is so beautiful, Shield Bro. If you hadn't been injured last time, we would have settled here, right? Yushu looked at the green mountains and water in front of her, envious. Chapter 1758. You can handle a short vacation, but it'll be inconvenient if it gets longer. Your clothes and makeup aren't sold here, and even if you want to buy online, you'd have to drive to a faraway town to get your mail. Lenny said. This village isn't developed at all. It's not too bad actually. We don't need pretty clothes or makeup here. I'm actually looking forward to the days where the men farm and the women weave. Tang Yun said sincerely. Yushu was right. If Lin Yi hadn't recovered his strength at the last moment, they might have all returned to West Star Village. Although Tang Yun wasn't too happy about Meng Yao and Yushu coming back together, that dissatisfaction was gone with the wind. Sometimes the friendship between sisters could dissolve jealousy, but if it wasn't handled properly, it would escalate to the next level. It all depended on the person's mentality. Tang Yun accepted Meng Yao and Yushu, and the two of them accepted Tang Yun as well. Of course, it was all because of Xiao Xiao. If it weren't for Xiao Xiao, they wouldn't be able to get along so well. That day will come. Lin Yi smiled. But it's not now. Yeah, there's a lot of things we haven't solved yet, and Xiao Xiao's going to the Ice Palace as well. We all need to work hard. Tang Yun nodded. Lin Yi, what do you think I should say when I see Grandpa Lin later? I'm a little nervous. They were getting closer and closer to Star West Village, and Tang Yun was getting more and more nervous. My old man is very kind. Lin Yi smiled. I call him Old Lin, and that means he's easy to talk to. He'll be happy if I bring my wife back, right? Tang Yun blushed. Won't he think that I'm useless? This was what Tang Yun was most worried about. She was afraid that Old Lin would think that she didn't have a family background or martial arts, that she wasn't a good match for Lin Yi. Right now, Tang Yun felt that Xiao Xiao was a good match for Lin Yi. She and Lin Yi were both strong, and it felt like they were a match made in heaven. How is that possible? Lin Yi said, besides, didn't I tell you this time? Let's see if we can think of a way to find a set of mental cultivation methods for you so that you can also... This was what Tang Yun was looking forward to the most. If she could become a powerhouse and reach the heaven rank, her lifespan would be extended and she would be able to accompany Lin Yi forever. Most importantly, she would be able to maintain her beauty forever, forever staying at the most beautiful moment. Lin Yi wouldn't be obsessed with the new and get tired of the old. Meng Yao and Yushu didn't say anything, but they were looking forward to it as well. There were almost no cars in West Star Mountain Village, so when Lin Yi's car entered the village, it attracted a lot of attention. When they saw that the driver was Lin Yi, they became even more enthusiastic. Little Yi, you're back. Did he earn some money from this job? Did he strike it rich? Before, every time Lin Yi went out for a mission, he would lie and say that he was working. Only old Lin and Gooden knew what was going on. Naturally, Lin Yi wouldn't tell the truth to other people. Pa, it's alright. Lin Yi smiled. Aunt Wang, your family's income is pretty good, right? You're wearing a golden bracelet? Ah yeah, not bad, not bad. Widow Wang smiled proudly as she shook the golden bracelet on her hand. Uncle Zhang, your house looks pretty good too? You're riding electric scooters? Lin Yi greeted another uncle. Compared to your car, it's still far from it. But it's good enough that I have a car. Uncle Zhang said proudly. Lin Yi greeted the villagers one by one. West Star Mountain Village wasn't that big and everyone knew each other. Tang Yun, Meng Yao and Yushu were a little embarrassed. They had never seen such friendly villagers before and they didn't know what to say. Fortunately, there was a film on the car and the villagers could only see Tang Yun in the front seat. They didn't notice Meng Yao and Yushu in the back seat. This is the girlfriend that Dr. Lin said you brought back, right? Tia, this girl is so pretty. Widow Wang looked at Tang Yun and praised. Thank you. Tang Yun didn't know how to reply. Ha, you look very shy. Widow Wang laughed out loud. Alright, Aunt Wang, stop teasing her. My girlfriend is shy. Lin Yi helped Tang Yun out. Let's not talk about it now. I'll bring her home first and I'll treat everyone to dinner later. It's done, Lil Yi, you can go back first. Aunt Wang said, and the others made way for Lin Yi to go home first. After all, Lin Yi hadn't come back for a long time, and the first thing he would do was to go home, not to chat with them. Lin Yi drove Tang Yun, Meng Yao and Yushu back to the familiar courtyard of his house. As expected, he saw Lin Dongfang sitting on the chair in the courtyard. He seemed to have expected Lin Yi to come back and he didn't look surprised at all. He was eating sunflower seeds and drinking wine lazily. Lin Yi parked the car and got off with Tang Yun, Meng Yao and Yushu. Lin Yi hadn't seen old Lin for a long time and he missed him quite a bit. He walked over enthusiastically and Lin Dongfang jumped up from the chair. He then walked quickly towards Lin Yi. Old man, I finally see you again. Lin Yi walked over with a sigh. However, Lin Dongfang didn't seem to see Lin Yi at all. He walked past him and went straight to Tang Yun, Meng Yao and Yushu. He said excitedly, Hello, you are Lin Yi's first wife, second wife and third wife, right? Welcome to be our guests. Lin Yi felt extremely awkward. He had put his warm face on a cold butt and Lin Dongfang didn't even respond to him and went to talk to Tang Yun and the others. It made Lin Yi lose face. And old Lin's question made Lin Yi lose face even more. Lin Yi had said that Tang Yun was his girlfriend, and Meng Yao and Yushu were here to play together. And old Lin's question made it seem like he had introduced them to old Lin in advance. Tang Yun was a bit embarrassed by old Lin's question and she didn't know how to answer. However, Yushu didn't seem to be affected at all and said casually, Hello Grandpa Lin, you've got it wrong. We are not the first wife, second wife and third wife. Meng Yao frowned when she heard Yushu's words. Wasn't she embarrassing Lin Dongfang in front of everyone? Wasn't she just embarrassing everyone? Just when she wanted to say something to smooth things over, Yushu spoke again. Chapter 1759. Yun Yun sis and Yao Yao sis are the main wife. I'm the second wife. I don't have a second wife or third wife. Yushu said. Ahem. Dongfang was just joking, he didn't expect someone to be even worse than him. He started coughing. Old man, that's how Shu is, she likes to joke around, don't listen to her. Let me introduce you. Lin Yi said with a smile. This is Tang Yun, I told you about her before. These two are Chu Meng Yao and Yushu, good friends with Yun Yun. They're also the employers for the mission you gave me. But Lin Yi had to admit that Yushu's words had dispelled the awkwardness between them and brought them closer together. I was just joking, I didn't expect you to be even better. Dongfang smiled at Yushu. Welcome. It's fine. Yushu said, Shield Bro really does have a second wife. But she's not here, she's practicing in the Ice Palace. Dongfang knew that Yushu was talking about Xiao Xiao, so he wasn't surprised. He nodded. Why didn't you tell us you were coming? I could have prepared some food, you came back so suddenly and I didn't prepare anything? It's fine. Tell Gooden to go hunt some wild game, we'll have wild game tonight. Lin Yi said. Right, I'll go get Gooden, Yun Yun, Yao Yao and Shu. You guys settle down here. Okay, you can go. Tang Yun and the others naturally needed to pack their luggage, so they nodded and said. Since Lin Yi had said a long time ago that he would bring them home, Dongfang had prepared a new room for them. He waited for Lin Yi to leave before saying to the three, "I'll show you around the house. If there's anything you need, just let me know. Treat it like your own home, don't be shy." "Okay, Grandpa Lin, we've bought most of the stuff we need. We don't need anything else," Tang Yun said quickly. "That's good too. You guys settle down first. I'll tidy up the kitchen. We'll have some game tonight." Lin Dongfang led the three of them into the house at the side, and then went to clean up the cooking stove. Because Lin Yi wasn't home, old Lin basically ate his food, so the cooking stove was already very dirty. He had to clean it up. Lin Yi came to Gooden's house with ease, and Yuan was busy drying some chilies and corn. She paused when she saw Lin Yi. "Lin Yi? Where's Gooden?" "I'm back, so I came to see him." Lin Yi smiled. "When did you come back? Why didn't you tell me in advance?" "Zhou Jiaming always says that he misses you and wants to see you, but there's a lot of farm work recently. We don't have time." Yuan said in surprise. "Zhou Jiaming went hunting in the mountains and will come back at night. Then I'll go look for him." Lin Yi often went up the mountains with Gooden and he knew where he was. He didn't need Yuan to tell him. "Alright, go find him then." "Right, why don't you eat at my house tonight? We can have some game." Yuan invited. Tang Yun, Yao and Shu are all back. "They're at my house. Why don't you guys go over tonight?" Lin Yi said. "That's fine too." Yuan nodded. Lin Yi left Gooden's house and walked towards West Star Mountain. The mountain was dangerous and there were many beasts there. Normal hunters didn't dare go deep into the mountain, and they only hunted at the foot of the mountain. But Gooden didn't care. He could go straight into the mountain to hunt. No beast had been able to escape from Gooden's punch. Gooden killed with one hit, not giving the beast a chance to fight back. Uncle Wang hunting? At the foot of West Star Mountain, Lin Yi saw the hunter Uncle Wang and greeted him. "Lily, you're back?" Uncle Wang grabbed a wild chicken and turned around. He smiled. "When did you come back?" "Today I came to look for Gooden." "Did you see him, Uncle Wang?" Lin Yi asked. "I saw him, he went up the mountain." "He's up there." Uncle Wang said. "Only this kid is born with godly strength and he dares to go hunting. Normal people don't come back. Right, and you two are really..." "Haha, I practiced kung fu with the old man when I was young." Lin Yi smiled. "Then I'll go up first." "Go, come and play when you're free," Uncle Wang said. Everyone in the village knew that Lin Yi knew kung fu, but no one knew how strong Lin Yi's kung fu was. Normal people thought that Lin Yi was just stronger than normal people. "Who's there?" Gooden's instincts were very sharp. If a beast ambushed him from behind, he'd be dead. Although he was very strong, his defense was no different from a normal person. He had to be extremely vigilant. When a beast approached him, he had to react immediately. But what he heard was footsteps. It wasn't the footsteps of a beast, it was the footsteps of a human. This made Gooden feel strange. Other than him, no one else dared to enter the mountain. "It's me." Lin Yi was very satisfied with Gooden's instincts. He purposely didn't hide his footsteps to test him. There wouldn't be any practitioners in this forest that would attack Gooden. If there was, it would be a beast, and a beast wouldn't be able to hide its footsteps. "Boss." Gooden paused and turned around in surprise and joy. He looked at Lin Yi in disbelief. "Boss, you're back? Didn't I tell you? I'll be back in August for sure." Lin Yi nodded. "I just arrived today. Tang Yun and the others are here too. Want to come to my house tonight?" "Sure, I'll bring Yuan over." Gooden nodded, remembering that Lin Yi said he'd be back in August for sure, but he didn't think much of it at the time. Now that he mentioned it, he finally remembered. Lin Yi wanted to enter the cave behind the back of the mountain on the night of the full moon. He didn't know who made this 5-year promise, but it was true that he could only enter after 5 years. This time Lin Yi couldn't miss it. There were still a few days until the full moon and Lin Yi wasn't in a rush. "How's today's harvest?" Lin Yi asked as he looked behind Gooden. There wasn't anything there yet, so he was curious. Target equals underweight. Chapter 1760. Back to the Cave, Part 2. Gooden was a little embarrassed. "Don't mention it, I had a stomachache this morning, so I had to find a place to settle it. But it's fine, I'll go hunt some wild animals for dinner." "Alright, then let's split up. We'll meet at my house." Lin Yi wanted to go check out the cave behind the mountain, but he couldn't bring Gooden along. Other than old Lin Yi was the only one who knew about this secret. Gooden was a reliable person, but this was a serious matter, and Lin Yi was afraid that he'd spill the beans. Alright. Gooden agreed without hesitation. After all, the two of them used to separate when they hunted, and Lin Yi used hunting as an excuse to check out the cave to see if there was a possibility of opening it early. But before the art of dragon mastery reached the first stage, it was impossible to open the stone door. Now that Lin Yi had reached it, he wanted to see if he could open the door before the full moon. After parting with Gooden, Lin Yi went straight to the top of the mountain. Here Lin Yi was the king of the jungle. Most of the beasts here knew Lin Yi, and they'd suffered under Lin Yi's hands before, so wherever Lin Yi went, the beasts basically all moved away. Lin Yi's aura made these beasts instinctively feel a sense of danger, just like General Wei Wu. At the top of the mountain, Lin Yi jumped down the steep cliff. With Lin Yi's current strength, he could jump back and forth without any pressure. He came to the entrance of the cave that he'd been to dozens of times before, and Lin Yi placed his hand on the stone door, channeling the art of dragon mastery. The stone door didn't react at all. Lin Yi sighed bitterly. It seemed that he had to wait for the full moon to come here. Otherwise it would be useless. Fortunately, it was only a few days until the full moon, and Lin Yi looked around the cave. The traps he'd set up before he left hadn't been touched by anyone. It seemed that no one had been here before, and Lin Yi could leave with peace of mind. When they got home, Gooden was already in the yard with old Lin, cleaning up the deer and other game. Tang Yun and the others wanted to help, but the scene was too bloody. They couldn't help until they cut the deer into smaller pieces. Tang Yin had lived in a bungalow before, and it wasn't too bad for her, but Meng Yao and Yushu were quite curious about it. Their villa was pretty much the same as a bungalow, but cooking with a stove in the yard was a first for them. It's so fun, Shield Bro. Did you live here when you were young? Yushu was like a curious baby as she walked around the yard. You'll get bored after a while. Lin Yi said, there's no entertainment like in the big cities, so you can only watch TV or play on the internet at night. You're right, Yushu nodded, but as long as I'm with Shield Bro it's fun. Ha. Lin Yi smiled and shrugged, not saying anything else. At night, everyone sat around the fire and ate meat. Old Lin was very happy with the box of erguo Tang Yun brought him, opening one bottle like it was a treasure. He poured one for himself, one for Gooden, and one for Lin Yi before pouring a cup of water for Lin Yi. This action made Tang Yun, Yao Yao and Shu curious. Old Lin couldn't be that stingy, could he? They were all drinking, so why would he pour water for Lin Yi? Maybe it's because of my practitioner's arts. I've never gotten drunk before, so it's a waste for me to drink. It's the same as drinking water. Lin Yi saw their confusion and explained with a smile. I see. Tang Yun and the others understood. Although Lin Yi was drinking water, everyone was enjoying themselves, especially old Lin. He smiled as he looked at Lin Yi, Tang Yun, Meng Yao and Yushu. Lin Yi, you're the best. Gooden brought back a wife and you brought back 3. I didn't even have enough gifts to share. It's fine, Grandpa Lin. Lin Yi already told us about your situation. He said that you donated all your money to those children, so we don't need any gifts. Tang Yun quickly said. It's fine, Grandpa Lin. Yeah, we're all family, no need to be so polite, Yushu said. Lin Yi, old Lin, and Gooden all burst into laughters. Yushu really didn't treat them as outsiders. After 3 rounds of drinking, old Lin sobered up a little and said, I heard that you want to find a suitable practitioner's arts for Yun Yun and the others, turning them into practitioners? Yes, that's exactly what I meant, Lin Yi nodded. Xiao Xiao became a practitioner and they want to train too. Is that so? Old man Lin pondered for a moment and said, everyone's physique is different, so the mantra suitable for cultivation is also different. For example, the mantra that you cultivate has no effect on me. I'm the same as Gooden, a physical practitioner with no class. Although I have spiritual arts, it's only a support type and I haven't reached sky class yet, so I can't suppress my body's condition, so my situation doesn't apply to them. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm troubled about. Master left. Otherwise, I might be able to get some useful information from him. After all, he knows a lot. Lin Yi sighed. Then do you have any other ideas? That's right. I can try to contact someone for you, maybe he has a way but maybe he doesn't, Old Lin said. Old Lin said, as far as I know, the mental cultivation method that you cultivate is the most powerful mental cultivation method that we have. The others are all supplementary ones that strengthen the body. For example, the one that your master and I cultivate. Although we cultivate both internal and external, and we have reached a certain level of external cultivation, we don't have a grade. As for internal cultivation, we don't have much of an achievement either. Hearing the words, Lin Yi's eyes flashed with surprise. It seemed like old Lin had some connections behind him that he didn't know about. Then you'll have to keep an eye on this, old Lin. Lin Yi didn't hold back. Right, you and Gooden still haven't found a solution? Is there no way to bring the spring water out of West Star Village? It's been so many years and there's no result. I'm about to give up, old Lin said with a smile. Hashtag. Chapter 1761. Lin Yi nodded and didn't say anything else. The night in Star West Village was quiet and the sky was pure. In the city, it was rare to enjoy this kind of tranquility and see the beautiful starry sky. Lin Yi and Tang Yun sat on a big rock in the yard enjoying the moment. Meng Yao and Yushu didn't disturb Lin Yi and Tang Yun. The three were very close, but Lin Yi and Tang Yun didn't have many chances to be alone. Now that they were here, they gave Lin Yi and Tang Yun a chance. After all, old Lin was joking, but Meng Yao didn't want to be shameless. Tang Yun was Lin Yi's girlfriend, and it wouldn't be right for her and Shu to interfere. Are you used to it? Lin Yi put his arm around Tang Yun's shoulder. It was rare for them to have such a warm moment. It's pretty good. Tang Yun blushed as she was hugged by Lin Yi. She played with the ring on her finger subconsciously. Although Tang Yun wasn't jealous of Meng Yao and Yushu anymore, she was still a little competitive. This ring was a gift from Lin Yi. Even if Meng Yao and Yushu became Lin Yi's second wife, Tang Yun was still unique. He was a very special one. That's good, I was just worried that you guys wouldn't be used to it. Lin Yi said, I said I would bring you home last time and this is how it is now. If we were impulsive last time, we might end up like Gooden and Yi Yuan living here for the rest of our lives. Isn't that better? Tang Yun said subconsciously. Lin Yi paused. Nothing. Tang Yun blushed even more. She accidentally revealed her thoughts, and she didn't want Meng Yao and Yushu to hear it. But behind a pile of firewood not far away there were two little spies. Yao Yao. Yun sis seems to still have a knot in her heart. Yushu said softly. That's for sure. Who told you to keep saying that you want to be Lin Yi's concubine? Yun has already done enough to not kick you out. Meng Yao glared at Yushu and scolded her. But in her heart she was thinking, was the knot in Tang Yun's heart Yushu or her? Isn't Xiao a small wife too? Why doesn't she have a knot in her heart? Yushu said, unconvinced. She was going to die at that time, how could it be the same? You don't have any illness or disaster. If you were to die, maybe Lin Yi would marry you and Tang Yun would agree. Mei Yao said, annoyed. It's hard to say. Maybe I'll end up like that one day? Yushu said. Don't jinx it. Meng Yao didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Can't you say something positive? You're still thinking about this? Man, I'm just telling the truth. Yushu raised her head and looked at the stars in the sky. No one knows what will happen to them in the future. Even I, the prophet Shu, don't know. Shu, why are your words so profound all of a sudden? Meng Yao paused. No, ho, I'm just joking. Yushu grinned. You scared me. Meng Yao breathed out in relief. In actuality, Lin Yi had heard every single word of the conversation between Meng Yao and Yushu. Lin Yi was an earth class after all, so there was no way he'd be able to hide something like this from him. However, Lin Yi wouldn't purposely expose anything. He just pretended that he didn't hear anything. It was rare to have a chance to be alone with Tang Yun. Lin Yi naturally treasured it. I wonder how Xiao is doing now. The last time I saw her. It's only been a few days. I miss her already. Tang Yun sighed. Sometimes you get a little jealous. Now that she's gone, you miss her again. Lin Yi said helplessly. Yeah. Although sometimes I don't feel too happy when I think of her as your girlfriend. But now that she's gone, I miss her again. Tang Yun was that kind of person. Her heart was in a mess. Haha, maybe 1 year, maybe 2 years. When the time comes, we'll bring her back together. Lin Yi made a vow in his heart. He had to become an elixir refiner. It was an urgent matter, but there was no progress in the field of elixir refinement. What Lin Yi lacked now was a good teacher. The refiners from the Sky Elixir sect had someone to guide them, and Bao Kuo and the Hidden Right House had someone to guide them. Lin Yi was the only one who didn't know where to start. But currently, Lin Yi wasn't on good terms with the Sky Elixir sect and the Hidden Right sect. He couldn't ask them for help. There was a second-level refiner in the Ice Palace, but Lin Yi couldn't bring himself to ask for help. He heard that the refiner was very arrogant. In the Ice Palace, only the girl Crystal Candy could talk. Even if Lin Yi wanted to learn, she might not be willing to teach Lin Yi. Okay. Tang Yun nodded heavily. I really hope that we can be like tonight. We can forget all our worries and be carefree. We can sit in the garden and look at the stars. Life would be great. There will be such a day. When the time comes, I'll be with you. Lin Yi couldn't help but pause when he said the word us. Pa, it's okay. I've thought it through. If Yao Yao and Shu want to follow us, they can. We can find a place or live in seclusion. It'll be fun, Tang Yun said. But you don't seem to be someone who can stay idle. Yao Yao and Shu? Lin Yi looked at Tang Yun strangely. Yao Yao doesn't know what she's thinking. Who likes you? Since I accepted Xiao Xiao, how can I exclude her? Alright, let's not talk about this anymore. Today, did Grandpa Lin tell you in private what he thinks of me? Tang Yun smiled, returning to her usual carefree and easygoing self. Not really. Lin Yi shook his head. He seems to like you a lot. But he's just like that. He's always unreliable. He likes you all. Haha, that's good. Tang Yun nodded. Lin Yi was an orphan. Grandpa Lin, who raised him, was naturally Lin Yi's parent. His attitude was directly related to whether Tang Yun could stay in House Lin in the future. Since Grandpa Lin didn't have any objections, there was no problem. Tang Yun is a good person. Shu, if you really want to be with Lin Yi in the future, don't bully her. She's a very kind person. Meng Yao listened to Tang Yun's words and sighed. Chapter 1762. Of course, Shu's the best. She never bullies her own family. Saint Hall, Yushu said. She only bullies outsiders. Yeah. Meng Yao nodded. You've heard everything you wanted to hear. We should go back and rest now. Yeah. Yao Yao, why aren't they sleeping yet? I'm a bit sleepy. Yushu yawned, but they couldn't leave without Lin Yi and Tang Yun leaving. It was very quiet in the middle of the night, and they'd be discovered if they moved. Who told you to be a spy? Shu 007. Great, if they want to have a romantic night here, we'll just sleep behind the firewood. Meng Yao said, not in a good mood. So many mosquitoes. Why don't we just go out? It's nothing much anyway. Yushu felt that they'd become mosquito bites the next day if they slept here for one night. You can go if you want, I'm not going. Meng Yao couldn't afford to lose face, eavesdropping on other people's private conversations. How embarrassing was that? But their conversation was heard by Lin Yi, and Lin Yi couldn't help but smile. Yun, let's go out for a walk. The air is very fresh at night, and sitting here for so long is going to make my legs sore. Note. Okay. Tang Yun nodded and very naturally let Lin Yi hold her hand, and the two walked out of the garden together. Meng Yao and Yushu, on the other hand, used this opportunity to return to their room, but the two of them were already covered in mosquito bites. Even if they used mosquito repellent and stickers, the mosquitoes here were too strong. Back in the room, Yushu lit up the mosquito coil and applied some balm with Meng Yao. After a while, Tang Yun came back as well and looked at the two strangely. Why are there so many mosquito bites? Why are there so many mosquitoes in the room with the mosquito coil? Tang Yun asked, surprised. Look, there are a lot of mosquitoes here. Meng Yao said awkwardly. I'm outside, but I didn't get bitten. That's weird. Tang Yun didn't have a single mosquito on her, but she didn't know that it was because Lin Yi used his pure qi to chase away the mosquitoes nearby. Meng Yao and Yushu were too far away and Lin Yi couldn't take care of them. You weren't bitten? Yushu was surprised and complained, this mosquito is so biased. Yao sis and I were bitten. Why didn't it bite you? We're not that far away. Not far? What does that mean? Weren't you guys in the house? Tang Yun paused. Holy Church, ahem. Shu's saying that we were bitten but you weren't bitten, so she's a little upset. Meng Yao explained. What she's trying to say is that we were inside the house and outside the house but you weren't. Is that so? Maybe it's because the room is small so there are more mosquitoes. Tang Yun couldn't explain it clearly. Are there any mosquitoes now? Do you want me to kill them for you? No need, I killed them all and lit the mosquito coil. There won't be any more. Meng Yao said. Oh. Tang Yun nodded. Life in the village was leisurely and happy. The villagers heard that 3 city beauties came to Old Lin's house, and they all came to visit. They were envious of Lin Yi's luck with women. They were already envious that Gooden married a city wife, And now Lin Yi brought back 3. They were even more impressed. But these people were just looking and they knew their place. They wouldn't introduce their relatives or friends' children of the right age to him. Of course, the novelty only lasted for a few days. After that, things returned to normal. Other than playing with the 3 girls, Lin Yi spent his time with Gooden. Boss, you're at home and I'm preparing to get engaged with Yuan Yuan. There's a wedding in a few days, you have to come. Gooden said. Engagement. Lin Yi wasn't surprised. Gooden and Yuan Yuan weren't of marriageable age yet, but according to the customs of the village they could get engaged first. After the engagement, it was the same as getting married, and everyone in the village would treat Yuan Yuan as a part of Gooden's family. Yeah, boss, do you want to get engaged with me too? Gooden asked. I'll pass. Lin Yi thought about his situation and rejected. How was he supposed to get engaged? Tang Yun. Wouldn't Shu be unhappy? And Xiao Xiao wasn't here. What was he supposed to do? In the blink of an eye, it was the day of Gooden's engagement. The quiet village became lively all of a sudden, decorated with lanterns and streamers. Everyone from the surrounding villages came to support the couple, and Gooden's family as the host started preparing early. Wild boar, wild chicken, wild duck, wild roe deer, all sorts of wild animals were prepared. Corn, potatoes, vegetables and other side dishes were prepared a few days in advance. Early in the morning when the sky was bright, the kitchen in Gooden's house started getting busy. All kinds of relatives who knew how to cook came to help because there were too many banquets. There were more than 100 tables. It could be said that all the residents of the village and the residents of the other villages had rushed over. This was how it was here. When someone had a wedding or a funeral, everyone would come to support them. As for whether they would give gifts or not, it was a small matter. What they wanted was such a lively scene. As Gooden's best friend Lin Yi naturally had to help out. Meng Yao, Yushu and Tang Yun on the other hand, didn't rest at all. They became waiters and waitresses, helping to serve the dishes. There weren't too many rules for an engagement in the village. The 2 people would show their faces on the stage, say some polite words and spend the rest of their lives together. Then the invited troupe would perform and the 2 people wouldn't have to do anything else. Everyone came to watch the show and the newlyweds went to change their clothes. Every table went to give a toast, of course, whether they knew each other or not. This was the custom of the village. It's so interesting. Will we get engaged like this in the future? Tang Yun enviously asked. If you want, naturally we can do it. I'm just worried that you'll think it's too noisy, Lin Yi said. Yeah. Us, me and Xiao Xiao, how could we get engaged with you at the same time? Wouldn't people laugh at us? Tang Yun shook her head. It's better to keep a low profile. Hearing Tang Yun's words, Lin Yi didn't know how to reply. He could only smile bitterly. Tang Yun was right. What would happen if the 2 of them got engaged at the same time? Chapter 1763. The moment the stone door opened, Lin Yi heard Jiao Yazi's voice. Little Lin, did you call me just now? Jiao Lao, what did you do just now? I called you so many times but you didn't respond. Now that it's over, why are you talking? Lin Yi didn't know what to say. Just now, the connection between you and the space in the jade was cut off. Didn't you feel it? I could hear you but I couldn't communicate with you. Jiao Yazi said. I see. Lin Yi was speechless. He blamed Jiao Yazi wrongly. Now that the connection between him and the space in the jade was restored, Lin Yi breathed a sigh of relief. The stone door just now gave me a fright. I didn't have any experience like this before. I thought my energy was sucked away and the stone door couldn't be opened. Just now. Jiao Yazi pondered. As the stone door opened, I recovered some of my memory. Just now, was your energy sucked away by the stone door and returned to you? Yes, that's right. Lin Yi nodded. Holy Church, this situation is very normal. The stone door was just testing you. Jiao Yazi said. The first stone door can be opened by using the art of dragon mastery. However, the second stone door needs to test if you have completed the first stage of the art of dragon mastery and successfully entered the second stage. Only then will the stone door open. So that's how it is. Lin Yi understood. However, the next question made Lin Yi confused. Jiao Lao, if that's the case, why did I feel that after the stone door absorbed my energy and returned it to me? Why did I feel that after the energy came back, it entered the stone door again and then went through my left and right hand as if it was a cycle? Haha, you're asking about this. Jiao Yazi had recovered a portion of his memories and could answer most of the questions Lin Yi was facing. The stone door does this to filter and purify the energy in your body. Because the energy in your body doesn't come entirely from the pure energy in the space of the jade pendant. A part of it comes from the spiritual qi of heaven and earth that you cultivate, and the other part comes from the qi gathering pill you consumed. This causes the energy in your body to not be particularly pure. So in order to better cultivate the second level of the art of dragon mastery, the stone door automatically filters and purifies the energy in your body before it opens. Don't you feel that the energy returning to your body has become purer? Indeed. Lin Yi nodded. He didn't expect the stone door to have such a benefit. Previously, Lin Yi thought that as long as he followed the 5-year promise and activated the art of dragon mastery, he could open the stone door. Little Lin, it's almost daybreak. Why are you still talking nonsense with me? Jiao Yazi suddenly reminded him. If you have any questions, ask me when we get back. Now quickly take your benefits and leave this place. Otherwise, it'll be too late for regrets. Lin Yi was shocked. Because the cave was as bright as day, Lin Yi couldn't feel the situation outside the cave. However, after hearing Jiao Yazi's words, he turned around and realized that there was a faint white light outside the cave. It seemed like it was not far from daybreak. With that thought, Lin Yi quickly got up and walked towards the second stone door. However, when Lin Yi entered the second stone door, the scene behind the stone door disappointed Lin Yi greatly. Behind the second stone door, there was no magnificent hall like the first stone door. Instead, there was a small, simple room. The 4 sides of the room were made of stone. There wasn't any luxurious design. However, what made Lin Yi curious was that there was no light source in the entire stone room, but it was still as bright as day. He didn't know what was the source of the light. However, Lin Yi wasn't surprised. Lin Yi had experienced the strange things in the cave 10 years ago. Therefore, no matter what happened, Lin Yi wasn't surprised. In front of the stone room there was a small platform. On the platform there was still an antique small box. Other than that, there was nothing else. Perhaps this was the mantra for the second stage of the art of dragon mastery? However, Lin Yi was a little puzzled. Jiao Lao said that the second stage of the art of dragon mastery had some benefits. One of the biggest benefits was that the space in the jade pendant could be turned into a storage space to store things. But now, it seemed that there was only the second stage of the cultivation mantra and nothing else. Could it be that after cultivating the second stage of the cultivation mantra, the jade pendant storage space could be automatically opened? Although the scene behind the second stone door disappointed Lin Yi, it was within Lin Yi's expectations. A small box was all he had gained from this trip to the cave. Lin Yi walked around the stage and there was a third stone door at the back of the stage. And beside the third stone door, there was also a similar stone tablet. On it, there was a line of words written in seal script: "Stone door can be opened after mastering the second stage." This line of words formed a sharp contrast with the words on the stone tablet. It almost made Lin Yi cry. Great, since this was written on the stone tablet, it probably meant that he didn't have to abide by the 5-year promise of the full moon anymore. As long as he perfected the second stage of the art of dragon mastery, he could open the third stone door. As such, Lin Yi wasn't in a hurry to investigate. He directly went up the platform, took the box on the platform and walked out of the cave. Although he didn't know how long it took to open the second stone door, it definitely wasn't a short time. If it wasn't for Jiao Lao's reminder, he might have missed the time. That would be troublesome. So, Lin Yi wasn't in a hurry to check the things in the small box. It would be the same if he went back to check. If he was trapped in the cave, he wouldn't be able to get out. Although Lin Yi's energy was self-sufficient and he might not die even if he was trapped in the cave for 5 years, there were so many things waiting for Lin Yi to do outside. How could Lin Yi be trapped here forever? Moreover, there was nothing left in the cave for Lin Yi to miss. All the benefits were in this box. Lin Yi didn't even look back and hurried back to his home in the West Star Village. You're back. Lin Yi didn't think that old Lin wouldn't rest the whole night. Instead, he was sitting on a chair in the courtyard, quietly waiting for Lin Yi's return. When he saw Lin Yi, old Lin suddenly opened his eyes and asked. Chapter 1764. Remember, don't practice before you complete the tempering process. These 2 lines of annotations made Lin Yi frown. Originally, Lin Yi wanted to start practicing the second stage of the art of dragon mastery. But when he saw the annotations below, he could only give up on this idea. Holy Church, as the saying goes, an impatient man cannot eat hot tofu. However, where was the so-called body-tempering prescription? Could it be one of the 2 remaining silk scrolls? Thinking of this, Lin Yi temporarily put down the second stage of the mantra and took out the second silk scroll from the small box. He opened it carefully and read it. The words, tempering prescription, were reflected in Lin Yi's eyes. As expected, this was a prescription. Lin Yi, who had a deep understanding of medicine, could tell at a glance that this was a prescription. Luckily, it was a prescription and not a pill prescription. If it was a pill prescription, then Lin Yi wouldn't be able to find a place to cry even if he wanted to. The prescription didn't need to be refined with alchemy fire. It could be used directly after concocting it. This was also Lin Yi's specialty. And at this moment, Lin Yi finally understood what Jiao Yazi meant. Without using the tempering prescription, it was impossible to practice the second stage of the art of dragon mastery. And in the cave, where would Lin Yi go to concoct the tempering medicine? Not to mention practicing the second stage, he might really have to wait 5 years in the cave before he could see the light of day again. This made Lin Yi's back break out in a cold sweat. He felt lucky. Under the tempering prescription, there were 4 big words: jade pendant condensation. When Lin Yi saw these 4 words, he couldn't be bothered to study the body tempering formula. Instead, he focused all his attention on the jade pendant condensation. Lin Yi remembered that Jiao Yazi had said that he would receive benefits after opening the second stone door in the space of the jade pendant. However, his memory had not been opened at that time, so he did not remember it clearly. Therefore, he did not say much about it. From the looks of it, could this be the method to transform the space in the jade pendant? Lin Yi continued to read, only to see that under the words jade pendant condensation, there was a line of small words written, second level condensation storage space. Seeing this, Lin Yi could not help but feel a little puzzled. Could it be that there was still a first level of condensation for the jade pendant? Otherwise, how could it directly become the second level of condensation? Thinking of this, Lin Yi asked doubtfully, Jiao Lao, did I miss something behind the first stone door? Why is this the method of condensation for the second level of the jade pendant, and not the first level? You didn't miss it. The first level of condensation was completed by someone else for you. Chapter 1765. A strange martial skill, isn't that the same as not saying anything? Lin Yi listened to Jiao Yazi's explanation and had the urge to beat him up. He came to the cave full of hope and all he got was this. Hawks, he wanted him to condense the jade pendant and not add a storage space in it. Take your time. You've waited for 10 years. Do you need more time? Jiao Yazi looked at Lin Yi's impatient face and shook his head. Do you know why I asked you to wait for 5 years before opening the stone door? Lin Yi asked curiously why. You've seen the cultivation speed in the space of the jade pendant. If you persevere, you'll be able to complete the first stage of the art of dragon mastery in less than 3 years, right? Jiao Yazi asked. That's right. Lin Yi thought about how he broke through the bottleneck on the first night he entered the space of the jade pendant, and successfully entered the second stage from the first stage of the art of dragon mastery. It was enough to prove the magical effects of the space of the jade pendant. The 3 years that Jiao Lao said was a conservative estimate. If he was fast, he might be able to enter the second stage in less than 3 years. So why did we set the 5-year promise? Jiao Yazi paused and continued, we were afraid that you'd be too impatient and open the second stone door. You're young and your mind is not stable. We were afraid that you'd be too impatient and you'd be too impatient. It's not a good thing to rush to the second stage when you haven't even stabilized the first stage. Lin Yi nodded, then there's no need to rush to condense the jade pendant. Let's slowly collect the materials and complete the second stage of the art of dragon mastery first. That's how it should be, Jiao Yazi said. Since the decision was made, Lin Yi didn't need to rush to see the method of condensing the jade pendant. He didn't have all the materials, so there was no point in looking. Lin Yi put down the second scroll and picked up the last one. For some reason, Lin Yi suddenly felt nervous. This last scroll was his only hope, the last thing in the box. It was hard for Lin Yi not to be nervous. This time, Lin Yi came to the cave to get the second stage of the art of dragon mastery, But he had another hope, and that was to find a suitable technique for himself. The Earth-class masters he met, other than Boss Yu, all had their own techniques, but Lin Yi only had Faubert's technique. He didn't know if it was because it didn't match with the art of dragon mastery, but Lin Yi hadn't made much progress after practicing it for so long. He wasn't a match for others at all. If he didn't have a strong technique, then the advantage that Lin Yi had when he was a mystic would be gone. So Lin Yi really hoped that he could find a technique that suited him in the cave. Even Lin Yi himself was a little sure that there should be a technique that suited him in the cave. Otherwise, where would he go to find a technique? And this last scroll was Lin Yi's hope. Taking a deep breath, Lin Yi opened the third scroll, but when Lin Yi saw the word martial technique, he got excited and his face turned red. It really was a martial technique. Sure enough, behind the second stone door of the cave, there was a martial skill. But when Lin Yi calmed himself down and read the content, he was confused again. What was this martial technique? There was only the word martial technique, and below that was the main text. There were no subtitles to explain the moves of the technique, and that wasn't all. What made Lin Yi even more confused was that the main text of the martial technique was a part of the practitioner's mantra. The content of the mantra and the method of qi circulation were similar to the art of dragon mastery. But this was just a mantra for practicing qi and there were no specific moves. This made Lin Yi very puzzled. There were no moves, just the mantra. What kind of martial technique was this? Could it be that by cultivating the mantra of this martial skill, one would be able to unleash moves? No matter how Lin Yi thought about it, it didn't seem possible at all. It wasn't realistic at all, it was just a method of luck. There was no mention of fighting the enemy, and it made Lin Yi wonder if he'd been tricked. But according to the previous situation, the art of dragon mastery was such a powerful cultivation mantra. How could there be such a deceptive situation? Lin Yi had no choice but to continue asking Jiao Yazi, "Jiao Lao, what's going on with this martial technique? Why is there only a section of the cultivation method mnemonic chant, and no specific cultivation moves? I've said it before, things don't get done quickly. I haven't fully recovered my memory of the martial technique. How would I know what's going on?" Elder Jiao said helplessly, "The original plan was that when you open the second stone door, you would at most have the strength of a mystic class. So the martial arts were only to be used if you broke through the earth class before you opened the third stone door. That's why it was placed at the back of the box, and my memory has only just recovered. It's not fully recovered yet. Even if you ask me now, I can't explain it." Lin Yi was speechless after listening to Jiao Yazi's explanation. It was all his fault that he didn't enter the space of the jade pendant to cultivate, or else he would have entered the second stone door 5 years ago and obtained the mantra and martial technique of the second level of the art of dragon mastery. By this time, Jiao Yazi's memory would have been fully recovered, right? But since Jiao Yazi didn't know, Lin Yi could only find out by himself. He would cultivate first, and if it didn't work he would have to wait until he recovered his memory. But what made Lin Yi uneasy was that Jiao Yazi's last sentence was used when he broke through the earth class. Could it be because he had been delayed for 5 years and this martial technique was only used to build the foundation before learning the real martial technique? And the real martial technique could only be obtained after opening the third stone door? Lin Yi's heart skipped a beat when he thought of this possibility. His deduction was indeed possible. If he had entered the space of the jade pendant 5 years ago, Lin Yi was afraid that he would at most be a mystic class master. Having a mantra to build the foundation for practicing the martial technique of the earth class was not a bad thing. When he opened the third stone door he could smoothly practice the martial technique. But he had been delayed for 5 years and everything was a little out of place, causing his strength to be higher than expected. He had already reached the early earth class, but the mantra couldn't keep up with his cultivation speed. Chapter 1766. Perhaps this was why the art of dragon mastery was invincible before the earth class, and he was known as the number 1 below the earth class. But after he entered the earth class it was completely different. He felt that it was very difficult to fight against an enemy. Even if it was against an opponent of the same level, if he didn't use a powerful trump card like the Qi Bomb, he wouldn't have any confidence in winning. Thinking of this, Lin Yi felt a little depressed. If he waited until he completed the second stage of the art of dragon mastery and opened the third door to get the technique, it would be too late. But now that the situation was like this, Even if Lin Yi wanted to change it, it was impossible. Part 2. The only thing he could do now was to cultivate the second level of the art of dragon mastery to its peak while he practiced this technique. Then he could open the third stone door. Lin Yi sighed and copied down the prescription on the second silk scroll. He then folded the 3 silk scrolls carefully and kept them close to his body. He brought the prescription to old Lin to study. Most of the ingredients in the recipe were common, but there were some that Lin Yi hadn't even heard of before. Old Lin was experienced and knowledgeable, so he should know what these ingredients were. Part 3. Even if it didn't work, he could find substitutes. At least it wouldn't stop Lin Yi from practicing the second stage of the art of dragon mastery. After seeing the technique, Lin Yi couldn't wait to train the second stage of the art of dragon mastery. Lin Yi didn't stay with Tang Yun and the others at night, so Tang Yun and the others didn't know what Lin Yi was doing. It wasn't that Lin Yi wanted to hide it. Although Tang Yun, Yao Yao and Shu were the closest people to Lin Yi, there were too many people. Even Er Guden didn't know the secret of the cave, so naturally, Lin Yi wouldn't tell others. If the cave was discovered by others in advance, it would be too late for Lin Yi to cry in the future. After leaving the room, Lin Yi saw the piercing sunlight outside and remembered that old Lin hadn't slept at all last night. He was probably resting now, but Tang Yun and the others had woken up and were surprised to see Lin Yi return. Lin Yi, yesterday Grandpa Lin said that you went hunting in the mountains and didn't come back yet. Did you come back in the middle of the night? Tang Yun wasn't worried that something would happen to Lin Yi. With Lin Yi's strength, what kind of beast could harm him? Yes, I came back at midnight. St. Hall, Lin Yi nodded. I was planning to hunt a few wild chickens for you guys to eat, but unfortunately I didn't find any. Forget it, I'll go buy some later. Tang Yun and the others didn't think too much after hearing Lin Yi's words. Hunting wasn't like other things. Sometimes you purposely looked for a certain animal but you might not be able to find it. So, it was reasonable that Lin Yi couldn't find any wild chickens at midnight. Huh. Where's Grandpa Lin? Why don't I see him? Meng Yao looked around the yard curiously. Every morning old Lin was the first one to wake up. At this time he would definitely be in the yard, sunbathing and chatting with Tang Yun and the others. But today there was no one on the recliner and Dongfang's bedroom door was closed. This made Meng Yao and the others feel strange. Haha, I slept in today. As soon as Meng Yao's voice fell, Lin Dongfang pushed the door open and walked out of the room. He looked hale and hearty, not at all like someone who didn't sleep for a night. But Lin Yi knew that although old Lin was a physical practitioner, he practiced some spiritual arts. Although he didn't reach the sky class, he had reached a very high level. If he didn't sleep for a night, as long as he adjusted his breath, he would be back to normal. Lin Yi nodded to him, smiled and didn't say anything. Although Lin Yi wanted to ask old Lin some questions, they hadn't eaten yet, so Lin Yi prepared breakfast first. The breakfast of a farmer was simple, only porridge and pickled vegetables, but even so Tang Yun and the others ate with relish. The pickled vegetables were pickled by Lin Yi himself. They had seen Lin Yi's skills before. Just a few simple dishes made the girls salivate. After breakfast Lin Yi said, "Old man, are you free? I have some questions about medicine that I need to discuss with you." Medicine? Old Lin paused. He didn't know what Lin Yi wanted to discuss with him at this time, but he still nodded and said, "Okay, what about Yun Yun and the others? We'll go walk around the village and play with Er Guden and Yi Yuan Yuan. Lin Yi, if you have something to do you should do it first." Tang Yun, Meng Yao and Yushu had become familiar with each other in the village. They basically knew each other and they went around every day taking pictures and having fun. Sure. Lin Yi wasn't worried about the girls' safety. Lin Yi knew everyone in the village and they couldn't be bad people. After breakfast, Lin Yi followed old Lin to his room. Old Lin was confused about why Lin Yi wanted to discuss medicine with him at this time. Didn't you get the second stage of the art of dragon mastery? Why aren't you in a hurry to practice? Why are you discussing medicine with me? After hearing old Lin's words, Lin Yi couldn't help but smile bitterly. Old man, I've obtained the second level of the scripture, but there's a prerequisite to practice the second level. Prerequisite? What prerequisite? Old Lin asked curiously. Body tempering. You must use medicine to temper your body and you can only practice after that. Lin Yi said, and what I want to discuss with you is the medicine for body tempering. So it's body tempering. Old Lin heard Lin Yi's words and immediately nodded. Body tempering? I say, old man, do you know something? From your tone it sounds like you know something. Lin Yi was good at reading people's expressions. After hearing old Lin's words, he looked at old Lin suspiciously as if he knew something. Since you already know, then I won't hide it from you. When you practiced the first stage of the art of dragon mastery, you also tempered your body, but I was the one making the medicine for you. Do you remember that I would soak your body in medicine every day? Lin Dongfang didn't hide anything. So you're saying that before I went to the cave, you already knew that I practiced the art of dragon mastery? Lin Yi had his suspicions before. He vaguely felt that it was a little strange for old Lin to call him to the West Star Mountain on that full moon night 10 years ago. Chapter 1767. This time it didn't matter if the hidden houses were at odds with each other or not, all of them came. They were all heads of the houses and all of them were old heads. For these old patriarchs to personally come, it was obvious that they wanted to discuss an important matter. Most of these hidden families were in a competitive relationship, but when it came to matters of common interest, they would cooperate with each other. Old Zhao, I didn't think that you'd become a sky class early phase already. I remember that you were still an earth class late phase peak when I sent Lil Chen to celebrate your birthday last year, right? Old ancestor, you looked at his daughter-in-law in shock. He didn't think that in less than a year he'd become a sky class. Am I that useless in your eyes? What, do you feel uncomfortable now that I've become a sky class? Old man Zhao laughed and said, you are already a heaven stage expert. If I don't work hard, how can I? That's true. Our houses, you and Zhao, have always been close, and I'm happy that your house is thriving. Old ancestor, you turned to Guangyin, who was behind old Zhao, and said faintly, Guangyin, I heard from Lil Jin that you're preparing to bring back an illegitimate child? What's going on? It's okay for a man to be a bit romantic, but don't cause a family conflict because of this? Guangyin's face reddened. The old ancestor of House Yu only mentioned it lightly, but for a sky class to ask about it, it was definitely not a small matter. It meant that the old ancestor of House Yu was dissatisfied with what he did. With that thought, Guangyin could only answer, Father-in-law, this was decided by our old ancestor and it wasn't Guangyin's idea. He could only push this to old Zhao, and in fact it was old Zhao's decision. Now that old Zhao and old ancestor you were both sky classes, naturally they wouldn't turn against each other over something like this. In the hidden houses, once an elder became a sky class, they'd call him old ancestor. This was because the lifespan of a sky class would be lengthened, and after becoming a sky class, they could protect the house for at least 100 years, so it wasn't wrong to call him old ancestor. This was my idea. Old Master Zhao took over the matter. No matter what, he's still a descendant of my Zhao family. Taking advantage of the joyous occasion of my breakthrough to the heaven rank to bring him back, it's not a big deal. Sanctuary. Old Yu nodded and didn't say anything else. His daughter wasn't happy about this, but this was House Zhao's family business after all. Since old Zhao had already said so, it wasn't appropriate for him to say anything else. Naturally, it would be a different story if old Zhao hadn't advanced to the heaven rank. A heaven rank powerhouse was like a guardian to a hidden family. As long as there was a heaven rank powerhouse keeping watch, and as long as the family didn't provoke a more powerful force, it could guarantee that the family wouldn't decline within 100 years. But if some of the young people in the family were so full of themselves that they became brainless and provoked a more powerful force, then it would be a different story. However, a hidden house with a heaven rank powerhouse was already comparable to a normal ancient sect. Even those ancient sects with only 1 or 2 heaven ranks would have to think twice before making a move on a hidden house with a heaven rank powerhouse. So old Zhao breaking through to the heaven rank was a good thing and a bad thing for old Yu. The good thing was that the two houses were related by marriage and could be considered allies. The bad thing was that House Yu wouldn't be able to control House Zhao anymore. House Yu's original plan was to wait for Yu Shaojin and Zhao Guangyin's child to grow up and take over House Zhao. At that time, House Yu's grandfather would be there, and he'd be able to interfere with some of House Zhao's decisions. But now that House Yu's grandfather was there, even if his grandson became the young master, he wouldn't be able to make decisions on his own. Just like House Yu's Yu Shaochen, when it came to House Yu's benefits, they still had to ask for his permission. The Zhao family's ancestor advancing to the heaven rank made the patriarchs of the other hidden families feel strange. They didn't know what kind of fortuitous encounter the Zhao family's patriarch had, but it wasn't good to ask. How they advanced to the heaven rank was a taboo to others, so it was impossible for them to expect others to tell them. Congratulations, old friend Zhao. This time it was old Master Pai who spoke. He was also a heaven class, but he was a physical heaven class. To be able to break through to heaven class as a physical practitioner was quite rare. Congratulations. The one who spoke was the old master of the Yu family. Although the old master of the Yu family focused on alchemy and cultivation as a supplement, no one could underestimate his heaven stage strength and control of alchemy fire. When a refiner reached heaven class, even if they didn't have any special techniques, just using the fire to create a killing move was enough to give people headaches. Unless it was a water type, ice type, or snow type cultivator that could restrain fire type cultivators, other cultivators might not even be able to get close to him before their clothes were burnt to a crisp. Of course, these hidden houses elders, other than House Yu's elder, had all broken through to sky class in recent years. The reason why the Hidden House Association was able to intimidate them was because House Yu only had one sky class, House Yu's elder. They were weak, and the Hidden House Association was able to completely suppress them. But these years, with the disappearance of the founder of the Hidden Family Arbitration Association and the disappearance of the Chief Grand Elder, these ancestors that had advanced to the heaven rank started to become restless. They didn't want to be suppressed by the Hidden Family Arbitration Association, so they decided to hold this Hidden Family Convention. However, the elders here were all smart people. None of them were stupid. Though they had the same goal this time, none of them wanted to be the first to stand out. After all, what if the great elder of the Hidden House Association was still here? What if he came back to punish the hidden house that broke the rules? Therefore, these old men sat around the conference table in silence. In-law, you used to be the second elder of the Hidden House Council. Now that the Grand Elder isn't here as the second elder, why don't you say something? Old Master Zhao saw that everyone was silent, so he spoke after a moment. Currently, among the hidden houses, the strongest were still the Hidden House Yu and the Hidden House Yu. The Hidden House Yu had 2 Sky Class Masters, while the Hidden House Yu only had 1 Sky Class Master, the Old Man of House Yu. However, it was unknown how many Sky Class Masters they had in the dark. Chapter 1768. Chapter 1778. Think of a way. Yeah, old you, from the looks of it, your House Yu's desire to go to the common world for revenge is the strongest. Old Tang's birthday banquet was ruined, and his relationship with the Ice Palace was broken. Naturally, he hated Lin Yi and wanted to get rid of him as soon as possible, but what happened on the birthday banquet was sealed. He couldn't cause trouble for Lin Yi in the open in case people found out the truth. So, naturally, he encouraged the Hidden House Yu to avenge the Common House Yu. Please remember, Hawks, everyone, although the Common House Yu was destroyed and we, the Hidden House Yu, want to avenge them, but we're not in the right here. Elder Yu wasn't stupid. The Hidden House Council has already said that hidden houses can't get involved in the common world's business. We've been helping the Common House Yu earn money, and that's already a violation of the Hidden House's agreement. If we use this as an excuse to get revenge, then when Grand Elder comes back, it'll be us Hidden House Yu who'll be in trouble. So, even if we want to test them, we need to come up with a good reason. Even if Grand Elder questions us, we can push the blame away and not let someone else take the blame. You're right, in-law. Elder Zhao nodded, but we don't have a reason to leave the mountain, right? When Jean Wudi of the Golden Bell sect left the mountain, Grand Elder wasn't there, we were the ones who allowed it. His reason for leaving the mountain was good, to avenge his disciple, but he died after that and Grand Elder couldn't find anyone to blame. Everyone agreed with what Elder Zhao said. If Jean Wudi didn't die, then they could test if Grand Elder still existed or not, but now that he was dead, there was no need for Grand Elder to appear. So, if they wanted to leave the mountain, they had to find a good reason. Everyone, let's brainstorm. Think about it. Is there a reason for us to leave the mountain so that even if the Great Elder knows, he won't blame us? Said Old Master Yu. But it's not like there's no way. Old Yu sighed. The establishment of the Hidden House Arbitration Association is to restrict the hidden houses, but it's also to mediate the conflicts between hidden houses so that they don't fight each other. You mean we should fake a conflict and let the Great Elder come out to judge? Old Master Zhao's eyes lit up as he asked. That's right. Old Yu nodded. As long as we create a conflict and let the 2 hidden houses fight, the association will definitely intervene. This way the Grand Elder will have to show himself. But, didn't we say before that we can hold a hidden family meeting to resolve ordinary conflicts? Moreover, there is still you, the Second Elder. There are some things that you, the Second Elder, can also make the decision. Old Master Yu frowned and asked. That's true, but what if our House Yu has a conflict with another house? Elder Yu smiled and asked in return. Oh. House Yu's Old Man Yu froze for a moment and couldn't help but give a thumbs up to House Yu's Old Man Yu. You're indeed the first to advance to Sky rank. As the Second Elder of the Hidden House Arbitration Association, if you have conflicts with other people, then we really can't interfere. Only the Grand Elder can come out to judge. That's right. Old Yu nodded. Everyone here isn't an outsider. Who would be willing to put on this show with our House Yu? Of course they might suffer a bit, but this is the only way. After all, no one wants to be the first to break the rules. If none of you are willing, then pretend I didn't say anything. Of course we're all willing to play along, but the problem is that we don't have a suitable point of conflict. The old man of the Yu family said, our two families are evenly matched. If you say that we want to have a conflict, if we really fight with swords and guns, we will definitely suffer heavy losses. At that time we may not necessarily be able to determine the winner. If there is no suitable reason for the conflict, then others will think that we are acting. At our age we're not idiots. We can't be as impulsive as young people. It's true. But perhaps some of you here have heard that we lost a qi gathering pill. With that, Old Yu looked at Old Zhao. As far as he was concerned, Yu Shaojin must have told Old Zhao. If she knew about this, then she must have told Old Zhao. However, Elder Zhao misunderstood. Could it be that House Yu had found out something? Could it be that Yu Huixing didn't keep his mouth shut and spilled the beans? I've heard about it. Old Zhao said calmly, but why did you bring this up all of a sudden? If the pill was taken by other houses, then there would be a point of conflict. Old Yu said, Shaochen could have entered Sky class, but such a good chance is gone. The person who took the pill will be the enemy of House Yu, and it's understandable that House Yu would fight with all our might. But House Yu won't take your pill. Although it's hard to make if we want it, hee. It's not that we can't make it, it's just that the investment isn't worth it, Old Yu said with a smile. The people present didn't think that Elder Yu was exaggerating at all. After all, the Qi gathering pill was a top-notch medicine for the hidden houses, but it wasn't much for the ancient sects, especially the Sky Elixir School. They could make it if they wanted to, but there would be some side effects after using it. Only people like Yu Shaochen, who wasn't that talented, would use it. After all, if Yu Shaochen didn't have the Qi gathering pill, he'd be stuck at Earth class late phase peak for the rest of his life. Forcefully breaking through to Sky class after using the Qi gathering pill would be extremely difficult, but Yu Shaochen didn't think that he'd be able to break through again. This was the difference between hidden houses and ancient sections. Hidden houses were mostly satisfied with Sky class. With the protection of a Sky class, it could ensure the family's prosperity. The ancient sects, on the other hand, pursued an even higher level than Sky-classed Heavenly Dao. It was just that no one had broken through to the Heavenly Dao yet, and those who had once pursued the Heavenly Dao had all disappeared. Thus, no one knew what kind of strength was above the Heaven rank, nor did they know if there were any stronger existences above the Heavenly Dao. Chapter 1769. Although old ancestor Yu knew about this, he also knew that House Yu didn't have any talented people. They only collected these things for the master behind the scenes. Holy Hall Elder Yu's words shocked everyone present. It seemed that the hidden Yu family's current strength was just a facade. No one knew how many experts they had in their family and how many trump cards they had. In my opinion, this Qi gathering pill was snatched away by the old friend of the Zhao family, right? Old Master Yu of the Yu family said. Don't slander us. How could we House Zhao steal House Yu's Qi gathering pill? Old Zhao was shocked and quickly denied it. Old Yu was speechless. I say, Old Zhao, aren't you being too emotional? I don't mean that you really stole House Yu's Qi gathering pill, but among us hidden families, only you just broke through to Sky class. So, if you say that you stole the pill, it would be the most reasonable. You used the pill to break through to Sky class, so you fell out with House Yu. I see. Old Zhao let out a sigh of relief and cursed in his heart. Old man, you guessed it right. I broke through because I stole House Yu's Qi gathering pill. However, with this act they could more or less cover up the truth. Although they would become the target of public criticism, no one would believe that he really stole House Yu's chi-gathering pill. However, old Zhao wasn't stupid. He thought for a while and said, "My in-laws and I put up such a dangerous act for everyone. When the time comes, everyone will benefit. Won't we lose out a little?" The old master of the Yu family seemed to know that the old master of the Zhao family would ask this question, so he smiled and said, "Don't worry, we are not ingrates. Your two families have stood up for all of us. We will not treat you badly in secret. This time the Yu family will offer generous elixirs as a thank you gift. House Tang, although we don't have medicinal pills, we still have some money," Old Tang said. "Us too." House Pai's old man and the others all expressed their willingness to give some benefits in secret. Thus, the matter was temporarily settled. These few days, House Yu pretended to have received a tip-off from their daughter, Yu Shaojin, saying that the pill was stolen by House Zhao. House Yu, on the other hand, had Yu Huixing cooperate with them, accusing House Zhao of wrongdoing. This way, the conflict between the two houses would escalate to an irreconcilable point, and then they could summon the elder. While Lin Yi was in seclusion, something happened in Songshan. Takitra Chu Pingzhan looked at the numbers on the computer screen. Even someone like him who had seen the world couldn't remain calm. This speed of earning money was too fast, wasn't it? Pingzhan Industries had never been this profitable since he took over the company. Sai, alright, since you've made up your mind, I won't say anything else. And Mingyue sighed again, a little helpless. How big do you want to go? Brother Mingyue, can you lend me some money? Pingzhan said after some hesitation, since your family doesn't want to do business anymore, why don't you support me? Brother Pingzhan, borrow money. Actually, with our relationship, it's not a problem for me to lend you money, but you should also know that I don't have the final say in the family. My elder brother and Mingri and my father are watching. And Mingyue said with some difficulty, if I directly take out a sum of money to lend you, then they definitely won't agree. Chapter 1770. Mingyue bro, don't worry, I won't borrow money for nothing. How about this? I'll use all of Pingzhan Industries' properties as collateral, and you can see how much you can give me. What do you think? Pingzhan himself didn't know why he would say something like that, but at this moment he felt that it was a matter of course and there was nothing wrong with it. If that's the case. And Mingyue pondered for a moment, then said, I can discuss this with my family, but brother Pingzhan, I advise you to be careful. After all, to put it bluntly, what if, and I'm saying what if, you lose all your money? Should I keep this business? If I keep it, I'll feel uneasy, and if I don't, I won't be able to get past my family, so. Mingyue bro, since it's a collateral, if the money is gone, the properties will naturally be yours. What's there to hesitate about? Pingzhan interrupted impatiently, say no more, it's decided. Mingyue bro, why are you being so hesitant? Alright, I'll discuss it with my brother and then I'll give you a definite reply. And Mingyue said. In fact, Mingyue and Mingyue were indeed in charge of Hao Sen's business, and the biggest shareholder was their father Olden. But this time Mingyue was just trying to trick Pingzhan, and so the so-called discussion was just to trick Pingzhan. Of course, this money would also belong to Hao Sen's business, and the reason why Mingyue did this was to leave a good impression in front of Olden, so that Zhang Wen could take over as the head of Hao Sen in the future. However, Mingyue still dialed his brother Mingyue's number after hanging up, and he pretended to discuss with him on the phone. Mingyue's calls were all recorded, and the reason why she did this was just to put on a show. Her son liked Meng Yao, and in order to prevent Meng Yao from holding a grudge against them for taking over House Chu's assets, they needed some evidence to prove House An's innocence. The recordings of Mingyue and Pingzhan, as well as the recordings of her discussing with her brother about the loan, were the best evidence. If Meng Yao were to suspect anything, he'd just have to play the recording to prove House An's innocence. This had nothing to do with House An at all. Pingzhan had done it on his own. He tried to stop him several times but to no avail. It wasn't Mingyue's fault. Takitra after putting on a show with Mingri, and Mingri wasn't in a rush to reply to Pingzhan. He turned to Zhang Wen and asked, Zhang Wen, we've made Pingzhan bankrupt this time. He won't commit suicide, will he? So what if I kill myself? Zhang Wen said nonchalantly. If he kills himself, then wouldn't Hao Sen be the indirect sinner? The thing between you and Yao Yao. And Mingyue said worriedly. Meng Yao will have no one to rely on if Pingzhan dies. It'll be easier for me to win her heart if I show up now. Chapter 1771. He believed that if he did well in this industry, it would be quite a sum of money. But what made Enchanting unhappy was that he had a bad start when he first came to Songshan. Not only were his men caught stealing in the supermarket, but this made him very angry. Although there was a saying that horses stumble and humans stumble, it was inevitable to make mistakes in this industry. But the problem was, how could Enchanting tolerate it when he just started? It was fine if he was caught by the police, but it was a few nosy youngsters who told him about it. This made Enchanting even angrier. Those who obstructed his plan would definitely be punished. Bro, we found out the identity of those nosy youngsters. Chao Zhuge received the report from his men and quickly said to Enchanting. Oh, who did it? Enchanting quickly asked. There's no news on that Land Rover, but that Audi S5, according to our investigation, often enters and exits the Sea View Bay Villa area. Our men went there to investigate. The owner is called Chu Mengyao, the daughter of Pingzhan Industries chairman. Chao Zhuge said, as for the others, they must be with her. There's no need to investigate to know who they are. Fuck, is the daughter of Pingzhan Industries so powerful? Find a few brothers and burn her house down. Let her know the consequences of obstructing my plan. Burn them to death. Enchanting was actually a ruthless person. Killing and burning was a common thing in his eyes. Bro, but according to our investigation, Chu Mengyao has already gone on a trip. There's no one at home. Even if we set fire to them, they won't be burned. For rich people like them, burning a house isn't a big loss, right? Chao Zhuge said. Gone on a trip? Enchanting was stunned, but he said, then what should we do? Should we wait for them to come back? Chao Zhuge was also in a difficult position. After all, their investigation speed couldn't be as fast as the local forces. There was a time difference in the middle and naturally Chu Mengyao would be able to escape. Wait for them to come back? It's too late. Enchanting was very unhappy. He had a feeling that he couldn't use his power. Chao Zhuge thought for a while and said, why don't we take revenge on Pingzhan? There's a saying that goes, the father pays his son's debts. This is enough to make Mengyao suffer. Pingzhan is a famous person in Songshan. Wouldn't it be troublesome to touch him? Enchanting had more to think about. I'll discuss this with my father first. After all, Pingzhan is a famous person, there wouldn't be a problem if he had father's support. That's true, there's no harm in being careful. Although it was Pingzhan's daughter who provoked us first, we still need Mr. An's permission to make a move on her. Chao Zhuge said. Enchanting called his father and Mingri and told him what he wanted to do. Dad, I just came to Songshan. If I don't do something about this, Jiangwen might look down on me. It'll be bad for my position in the Firewolves gang. What? You want to touch Pingzhan? And Mingri didn't ask much about what he said and directly refused. No, absolutely not. Why? Enchanting wasn't happy. Although Pingzhan Industries used to be second uncle's neighbor and had some business dealings with him, we have nothing to do with him. What's wrong with touching him? That means no. And Mingri said firmly, at least not now. Jiangwen is doing something big, and if he's done, all of Pingzhan Industries' properties will be in our hands. Although I know you might not be happy about it, I can't do anything about it. Who asked this to be beneficial to our business? Just bear with it for now. When Pingzhan Industries' properties are under our name, it'll be fine even if you kill Pingzhan. But before this is done, you can't do anything. Alright then. Enchanting was a little helpless, but since his father said it so decisively, he couldn't go against it. He only felt even more pissed off. What right did Jiangwen have to do big things? Why could he get all of Pingzhan Industries' properties under House An's name? Why did even his father have to support Jiangwen? This anger turned into a seed of hatred, deeply buried in Enchanting's heart. He swore that once this was over, he'd kill Pingzhan to appease the hatred in his heart. On Pingzhan Industries' side, Pingzhan finally signed a loan agreement with Mingyue with his shares, as well as Lin Yi's shares, as well as all of his personal properties. He used all of his and Lin Yi's shares as collateral, as well as all of Pingzhan Industries' properties. Man, Pingzhan bro, I know there's no point in trying to persuade you, but forget it, I won't say it. And Mingyue didn't seem to mind at all as he handed the shares and property certificates to the accountant beside him. We have a general understanding of these properties and I've talked to my brother about it. He's agreed to transfer 3 billion from the head office for you after consulting with our father. Your properties are pretty much worth this amount. What do you think, Pingzhan bro? 3 billion? That much? Pingzhan was a little surprised. These properties and shares were definitely worth more than 3 billion, but they couldn't be mortgaged according to the total value. And Mingyue's price was quite reasonable. Ah, we're old friends. Since it's a loan, naturally I won't take advantage of you. Actually, if I was the one in charge of Housen, I'd still lend you the money without any collateral. The collateral is just a formality. And Mingyue said. If that's the case, then thank you, Mingyue bro. Pengzhan was very excited. He estimated how many times the 3 billion would increase with the money he'd earned from the futures market. His business would probably be able to rise to the next level by then, right? The accountant and Mingyue brought was also a skilled one, and it didn't take long for them to finish their examination. They nodded to indicate that there were no problems, and Mingyue signed the loan agreement with Pengzhan. When Mingyue received the loan agreement with Pengzhan's signature, an almost undetectable smile appeared on his face. Pengzhan, on the other hand, had a smile on his face. Chapter 1772. Of course, Lin Yi and Meng Yao, who were far away in the West Star Village, didn't know about this. At this moment, Lin Yi had just followed the instructions on the prescription and prepared the medicinal liquid. After taking a portion, he jumped into the basin of black liquid on the ground. Immediately, a bone-piercing chill came from Lin Yi's skin, and Lin Yi couldn't help but shiver. Lin Yi didn't expect this medicinal liquid to have such an unexpected effect. There wasn't any cooling medicine like menthol in the medicinal liquid, but when mixed together, it was so cold that Lin Yi almost jumped out of the water. Fortunately, Lin Yi knew that this was a test he had to go through before practicing the second stage of the art of dragon mastery. He could only grit his teeth and bear with it. If he accidentally spilled the medicinal liquid that he took so much effort to make, then it would be very difficult to make another basin of the same liquid. Many of the herbs here were very rare in Old Lin's herb garden, and after using them this time, the rest couldn't be harvested anymore. They had to be kept as seeds, so if he wanted to make another basin of medicinal liquid, he would have to wait until next year. Naturally, Lin Yi didn't dare be careless. The medicinal liquid that Lin Yi took seemed to have a cooling effect as well. Not only did it not get rid of the chill in his body, but it also made Lin Yi feel that the chill was getting stronger and stronger. Lin Yi really couldn't take it anymore and wanted to use the art of dragon mastery to resist it. However, Lin Yi was still very clear-headed. He knew that when this medicinal liquid was tempering his body, he couldn't use his qi to resist it. Otherwise, the tempering would fail and it wouldn't achieve the desired effect. So, there was no other way for Lin Yi to silently endure the chill. Luckily, the time Lin Yi was soaked in Old Lin's medicine wasn't that much better than now. He'd been able to grit his teeth and endure it, and while it was more painful now, it was still bearable. He thought of Xiao Xiao back in those final days, when her body had been freezing cold every day and she'd made it through. How could he be worse than her? Therefore Lin Yi clenched his teeth, closed his eyes and sat quietly in the basin, waiting for the appointed time to arrive. According to the body tempering prescription, he had to soak for 24 hours before the body tempering could be completed, and Lin Yi didn't dare to be negligent. Fortunately, the duration of the body tempering this time was relatively short. It was not as long as the initial foundation establishment stage. At that time, Old Lin practically had Lin Yi soak in medicinal liquid every day. Of course, the degree of pain was also different. Time passed and in the blink of an eye, half a day had passed by Lin Yi. To Lin Yi's surprise, the color of the medicinal liquid in the basin had become a lot lighter, and as time passed, it was getting lighter and lighter. This miraculous phenomenon made Lin Yi click his tongue in wonder. When he was at foundation establishment, the medicinal liquid that Lin Yi soaked in every day didn't change much. Could it be that this time the medicinal liquid had been completely absorbed by his body? In the blink of an eye, 12 hours had passed. What made Lin Yi even more shocked was that the medicinal liquid in the basin had become transparent. In other words, the medicinal liquid had been completely absorbed by him. However, it had only been 12 hours and it hadn't reached the stipulated 24 hours. Therefore, even if the medicinal liquid had been completely absorbed, Lin Yi still sat in the basin motionlessly, afraid that he would make a mistake. However, in Lin Yi's body he could no longer feel the initial coldness. Instead, it was a normal feeling, as if this water was ordinary clean water used for bathing. There was nothing special about it. But even so, Lin Yi still didn't leave the basin. As expected, what happened next proved that Lin Yi's decision was correct. Because as time passed, the color of the water in the basin appeared again. From the initial transparent color, it became a light yellowish brown, and then the color began to become darker and darker. In the end, the entire basin turned into the color of ink, which surprised Lin Yi greatly. At this moment, Lin Yi roughly understood the principle of the body-tempering medicinal liquid. In his heart, he thought that he was lucky that he didn't come out of the basin after 12 hours. If he did, he would have definitely failed. This body-tempering medicinal liquid had probably been absorbed into his body during the previous 12 hours. Therefore, Lin Yi felt a bone-chilling coldness. And in the following 12 hours, it should be the detoxification period. The medicinal liquid had all the impurities in the body out of the body. Therefore, not only did Lin Yi not feel the previous coldness, but he also felt extremely comfortable. His entire body seemed to have become a lot more refreshed. This was probably similar to the effect brought about by the second layer of the stone door in the cave. The stone door completed the refinement of the energy in the body, while the medicinal liquid completed the refinement of the body's constitution. The two methods had the same effect, but neither could be dispensed with. Finally, 24 hours had passed. The entire basin of water had turned into the color of black ink. There was even a fishy smell. It was obviously the impurities that had been expelled from the body. And when the time was up, Lin Yi immediately jumped out of the basin and quickly used the water in the basin to wipe his body. After everything was done, Lin Yi put on his clothes and carried the basin out of his room. Just as Lin Yi expected, he saw old Lin's figure in the yard again. As usual, he was sitting on the reclining chair, quietly guarding Lin Yi's door. Seeing that Lin Yi had successfully walked out of the room, old Lin's face revealed a slightly tired smile. "Little E, it's a success?" "It's a success." Lin Yi placed the basin in his hands on the ground and said, "It's all black water. Why are you showing it to me? Aren't you going to pour it out?" "Sinks." Old man Lin waved his hand, then quickly stood up and said, "All right, the preliminary work is done. This old man should also rest. If you want to sleep, then sleep. If you want to continue cultivating, then cultivate." With that, old Lin turned around and walked back to his room without looking back. Lin Yi smiled bitterly and poured away the basin in his hands. Because it was midnight, Tang Yun and the others were resting. Lin Yi didn't want to disturb them. Plus, now that he'd completed his body refinement, he couldn't wait to practice the second stage of the art of dragon mastery. He'd been looking forward to it for a long time. Once he finished the second stage, he'd be able to enter the cave and open the third stone door. Therefore, you have to go through the second foundation building. This is normal. Don't worry, don't resist it. Jiao Yazi's voice sounded slowly. Lin Yi's heart suddenly relaxed. When Lin Yi's heart relaxed, the speed of his cultivation suddenly became faster. What Lin Yi didn't know was that cultivation was closely related to one's state of mind. The so-called inner demons in the process of cultivation were like this. However, in Lin Yi's heart he didn't have any obsessions or burdens. Therefore, the influence of inner demons on him was negligible. Of course, in the space in the jade pendant, a moment of relaxation changed the speed of cultivation. In fact, it was also a kind of undoing the knot in his heart. Lin Yi's body trembled slightly. He could only feel the endless energy in the space in the jade pendant pouring into his body like a tide. His body was like a bottomless pit. Chapter 1774. With Lin Yi as the center, more and more pure energy gathered in the space of the jade pendant, waiting to enter Lin Yi's body. If Lin Yi thought about it carefully, he did have this feeling 10 years ago. However, the process was slow at that time. It took him 2 years to build his foundation because the spiritual energy in the outside world was too sparse. But now Lin Yi seemed to feel that he would only need a day to build his second layer of foundation. Perhaps he wouldn't even need a day. Gradually, Lin Yi could even feel the changes in his body. The muscles in his body seemed to have become tighter, his bones became harder, and his meridians became tougher and thicker. It was a very enjoyable feeling, and Lin Yi just quietly immersed himself in it like that. In the blink of an eye, half a day had passed. The energy around Lin Yi's body wasn't as dense as before. It was getting thinner and thinner, and the speed at which Lin Yi's body was absorbing the energy had also slowed down. However, the comfortable feeling from before gradually disappeared. Replacing it was a burning sensation all over his body. At the beginning, Lin Yi didn't pay much attention to it. He thought that this was a necessary step in building his foundation. But as this burning sensation grew stronger, Lin Yi's body also showed an unnatural red flush. He even seemed to smell the burning smell of his clothes. Lin Yi's body became hotter and hotter. In just a moment it became boiling hot. Lin Yi's clothes also turned into ashes. White smoke was already coming out of Lin Yi's forehead, as if it was evaporating. Jiao Yazi, who was sitting quietly at the side, suddenly opened his eyes in disbelief. He looked at Lin Yi and immediately shouted, "Little Lin, stop, something's wrong." "What? Something's wrong?" Lin Yi was stunned. The speed of the art of dragon mastery in his body also changed. Because it was his first time practicing the second layer, Lin Yi was suddenly interrupted and made a mistake. The original direction of the meridians also deviated a little. As a result, not only did it not stop, but it also caused the vital energy in his body to flow in reverse. And at this moment Lin Yi's body also became completely red, like a red-hot coal. Jiao Yazi saw Lin Yi's situation and secretly regretted it. It was a taboo to be disturbed during training, especially for someone like Lin Yi, who was only practicing the second stage of the art of dragon mastery for the first time. He wasn't very familiar with it, and if he were to really be disturbed, he'd go berserk. However, it was too late to regret now. Because in Jiao Yazi's eyes, Lin Yi had already gone berserk. Previously, Lin Yi's cultivation went wrong. In the original Jiao Yazi's memory, there was no such situation. In other words, after Lin Yi absorbed the vital energy and completed the foundation building, this situation should not have happened. However, it happened to Lin Yi. Therefore, Jiao Yazi hurriedly called for a stop. Who would have thought that not only did this not save Lin Yi, but it also caused Lin Yi to go berserk. And Jiao Yazi's words also became the last sentence that Lin Yi heard at the last moment. Then Lin Yi's body suddenly tilted and fell to the ground, motionless. However, the art of dragon mastery in his body was still circulating, continuously absorbing the pure energy in the jade, causing Lin Yi's body to be like a piece of burning charcoal, but the temperature was still high. Jiao Yazi looked at Lin Yi's situation with a look of regret and hatred. He regretted reminding Lin Yi. Otherwise, Lin Yi wouldn't have gone berserk so quickly. However, from another perspective, if he didn't remind Lin Yi, wouldn't Lin Yi still go berserk? Thinking of this, the guilt in Jiao Yazi's heart lessened a little, but now he was worried about Lin Yi's safety and didn't know how to save him. One should know that it was Lin Yi's first time fainting in the space of the jade. In the past, no matter how serious Lin Yi's injuries were, as long as he wasn't dead, he could enter the space of the jade to heal his injuries. However, cultivation berserk was different from injuries. Cultivation berserk caused Lin Yi to be unconscious in the space of the jade. This made Jiao Yazi anxious, but he didn't know where to start. He was just a phantom and didn't have any actual abilities. Being able to speak and having some memories was completely set up by the creator of the jade pendant. As for things that weren't set up, he definitely wouldn't be able to make them. So at this time, Jiao Yazi really didn't know what to do. He could only hope that the people around Lin Yi could find Lin Yi as soon as possible and think of a way to wake him up. Knowing that it was useless to be anxious, Jiao Yazi calmed down and thought about what went wrong with Lin Yi. How did he suddenly go berserk? One should know that according to Jiao Yazi's current memory, it was impossible for Lin Yi to have such a strange phenomenon. Even if this strange phenomenon appeared, it was definitely not a coincidence. There must be something wrong. Thinking of this, Jiao Yazi deeply frowned. In the blink of an eye, another day passed. Old Lin looked at the closed door of Lin Yi's room strangely. He couldn't help but be suspicious. "Tang Yun, have you seen Lin Yi? He hasn't come out yet?" Nope. His room door was closed the whole day. Tang Yun nodded and said with certainty. Because of the rain, the three of them didn't go out. Instead, old Lin went out to treat a patient and only came back in the evening. Something's not right. Old Lin frowned. He knew Lin Yi's habits. In the past, when Lin Yi practiced, no matter what, he would come out every day to eat something. He had never stayed in his room for 2 days in a row. Even when Lin Yi had just obtained the first stage of the art of dragon mastery, he wasn't so obsessed with practicing that he didn't leave his room. That was why old Lin felt that something was wrong. Could it be that something went wrong? Tang Yun's face changed. Meng Yao and Yushu also looked at old Lin nervously. When we were in Songshan, did Lil Yi have any problems after practicing for so long? Old Lin pondered and asked. Her whole body was red as if she was cooked, and it was scary. The only difference was that Shu was awake at that time, but Lin Yi was unconscious. Oh, you're talking about that time when he was poisoned? Old Lin also remembered that Lin Yi called him and told him about Shu. Yes, that time when he was poisoned, but the situation was different. Meng Yao nodded. Shu had a fever for no reason, and she said that it was a problem since she was young, but Lin Yi's. It should be a problem after his cultivation. Old Lin nodded approvingly. It seemed that Meng Yao was quite smart, being able to see the difference in an instant. Before, when Shu had this kind of situation, how did you solve it? Old Lin asked. I took a medicine to suppress it. Yushu said, but Shield Bro should be different. Yushu was a family member and she knew that her body's condition was different from Lin Yi's. So in order to not let Grandpa Lin misunderstand, she quickly explained. Indeed, it should be different. Old Lin risked being scalded again to test Lin Yi's breathing. He realized that Lin Yi's breathing was normal, so he calmed down and said, maybe something went wrong during his cultivation. You guys stay here, I'll go make a call. Old Lin took a deep breath. All these years he hadn't contacted that person, but this time for Lin Yi he had to contact him. Because the situation Lin Yi was in right now was beyond his ability to solve. It wasn't something he could solve. Tang Yun agreed without hesitation. Although it was a little embarrassing, Lin Yi's life was in danger. Why would she care about anything else? Moreover, she and Lin Yi were already boyfriend and girlfriend. Although their relationship hadn't reached that stage yet, it was better to take a look in advance and gain experience. That way she wouldn't be too shy and surprised in the future. Yushu, on the other hand, frowned slightly. She reached out her hand curiously and touched Lin Yi's body. Shu, be careful, don't touch him. Meng Yao was shocked. If this heat touched a normal person's body, wouldn't they be scalded to death? Before, Lin Dongfang had his own secret technique. Although he didn't seem to be injured, he still gritted his teeth from the heat. How could Shu compare? However, Meng Yao's words were still a step too late. Yushu's hand had already touched Lin Yi's shoulder. Both Meng Yao and Tang Yun were shocked. The moment Yushu's hand touched Lin Yi's body, there was a chi law sound. Yushu just came in from outside. It was raining outside, so it was inevitable that there was some water vapor on her hand. This meant that the water vapor was evaporated in an instant. It was very scary. However, just when Tang Yun and Meng Yao were worried for Yushu, something strange happened. Yushu didn't seem to feel the heat from Lin Yi's body at all. Her expression didn't change at all. In the next moment, the red color on Lin Yi's body seemed to weaken a lot. Yushu's body suddenly became bright red. Her hand that touched Lin Yi's shoulder was like a conductor, transferring the heat from Lin Yi's body into her body. Chapter 1776. However, the color of Lin Yi's body had returned to normal. Although it was still hot, it was much better than before. It was as if half of Lin Yi's body heat had been taken away by Yushu. This magical phenomenon stunned Meng Yao and Tang Yun. What kind of kung fu was Yushu using? Why did it look like a superpower? Shu, are you okay? Meng Yao asked subconsciously. It's very, very hot, but I can handle it. Yushu said. I think that I wanted to help Shield Bro take some of the heat. That way he'll feel better. How magical. Tang Yun looked at the blushing Yushu. He was very surprised. Yushu didn't seem to be afraid of the heat. But that wasn't right. She was someone who was afraid of the heat the most. Whenever it was summer, she would always ask for the heat, asking Tang Yun to help her dissipate the heat. Or more accurately, Yushu was someone who could withstand the heat the most. Although she was afraid of the heat, it wasn't dangerous to her. If it were someone else, they would have died long ago. This was similar to Xiao Xiao. Although Xiao Xiao was someone who was afraid of the cold the most, she was also the one who could withstand it. She was frozen in the ice coffin and nothing happened to her. Normal people wouldn't be able to handle it, right? Just as they were studying Yushu's miraculous phenomenon, old Lin went back to his room and quickly took out a small wooden box from under his bed. If Lin Yi were here, he'd be shocked to find that this box was exactly the same as the one he got from the cave. Old Lin quickly opened the small box. Inside the box, there were no martial arts manuals, nor were there any heaven-defying divine weapons. There was only an exquisitely crafted communication device. Old Lin didn't hesitate and pressed the button on the communicator. Old Lin didn't know if he'd get a response, but he had to do it now. Things had developed beyond his expectations. He himself was a miracle doctor. When he saw Lin Yi's condition, he could immediately conclude that the strange phenomenon on Lin Yi's body was not because he was sick, nor was it because he had been poisoned by some kind of fire poison. It was a strange phenomenon caused by something. But old Lin didn't understand the art of dragon mastery at all, and had never heard of it. The only thing he could do was to contact that person. Hopefully this communicator is still working. Hopefully I can contact that person. Otherwise Lin Yi will really be in danger. Fortunately, there didn't seem to be any problems with the communicator. After old Lin pressed the button on the communicator, the indicator light on the communicator flashed a few times, as if it was connecting to something. After a while, the communication device connected smoothly, and a deep voice came from the other side. "Mr. Lin? Are you in trouble?" "It's Lil Yi." After he opened the stone door to the second level of the cave, he started practicing the second level of the art of dragon mastery, but after that his body became extremely hot. Old Lin quickly explained Lin Yi's situation. "That's not right. How is that possible? How could this happen?" The person on the other side of the communicator was also clearly taken aback. It was a little unbelievable. "Right, aren't you a divine fortune teller? Why didn't you predict the problem this time?" Old Lin asked. "What happened to Lil isn't something I can predict." The person on the other side of the communicator smiled bitterly. "I made a mistake last time when I tried to predict his situation. His situation can't be predicted with common sense. Then what do we do now?" Old Lin asked. "I'll be right there. Wait for me." The person on the other side of the communicator said. "Can you leave that side? Is there no problem?" Old Lin asked. "I stayed here and didn't go to that place with Master back then. Because..." The person on the other side of the communicator paused. "Let's not talk about this, I'll be right there." "I'll wait for you." Old Lin breathed a sigh of relief. With this person's help, the problem might be solved. After the call, Old Lin quickly returned to Lin Yi's room and saw a very magical scene in front of him. "You..." Old Lin looked at Yushu in shock. You can conduct heat?" "Yeah, I think this way Shield Bro can relax a little. Otherwise, I'm afraid he'll die from the heat." Yushu felt that she could share some of the heat with Lin Yi. This way Lin Yi's problem wouldn't worsen. "That's good." Old Lin was surprised, but he still nodded. Since Shu had such a special body, he'd let her take some of the heat for now. Old Lin, on the other hand, didn't say anything about Yushu, but he was getting more and more curious. Lin Yi mentioned that Shu's body seemed to be poisoned by fire poison. However, according to Old Lin's observation, Shu seemed to be fine. Only now did Old Lin realize that he was wrong. Moreover, Shu's body definitely wasn't fire poison. How could a person with fire poison share the heat for others? If it was in such a hot environment, she would have died from the fire poison. How could she be fine? But as weird as it was, Old Lin wasn't in the mood to think about Yushu's situation. Lin Yi's problem was more important, and while that person had agreed to come, West Star Village was a long way away, and Old Lin's heart was burning with anxiety. "Yawn?" Yushu yawned. She was a little sleepy. It was already late at night, but she was still sitting beside Lin Yi. Her hand touched Lin Yi's shoulder, not daring to move away. On Lin Yi's body, Old Lin also covered him with a thin blanket. Because Shu was helping to share most of the heat, The thin blanket wasn't burnt. Shu, if you are tired, you should rest. Old Lin looked at Shu's sleepy face and didn't want her to continue sharing the burden.